G.O.D. is the story of two men from two totally different backgrounds whose lives are correlated by the same plight, poverty and destitution. Though separated by an entire ocean, their lives run strangely parallel. Soon, the lives of these two men clash in a bloody war erupted by the murder of a mutual acquaintance. Wally is an impoverished boy from the streets of Buffalo, New York. Hamid is raised in the destitute province of Helmand in Afghanistan. Both boys lose their fathers to murders early in their lives, and their single mothers struggle to care for them, leaving the boys to fend for themselves the best way they can. After Wally is taken in by a local drug lord, he and his friends begin to climb out of poverty. After Hamid and his sisters are adopted by an opium lord from Afghanistan, he is sent to America for schooling and training for what his adopted father, Nasser, sees as his master plan to undermine America. G.O.D. is the story of gold, oil, and drugs, G.O.D., and the violent wars man finds himself in his worship of these vices. G.O.D. by Saleem Little stretched the boundaries of urban fiction. Through the microcosm of inner-city New York, Little shined the spotlight on the ulterior motives of the war on drugs. 1986, Buffalo, New York, beginning of the crack era. Wally is the child of a mother who is strung out from freebasing crack cocaine, and his disdain for her state of deadness is only matched by the state of squalor in which they live. Dumare is the youngest son of a devout 5%er. As he learns profound life lessons from his father, Dumare is also consumed by the street life. The only thing peaceful about Serenity's life is her name. Her mother has HIV and no remorse for making 11-year-old Serenity sell her body to feed her mother's crack habit. Roscoe is a boy, was simply slipped through the cracks of society early in life. His mother blames him for killing his little brother in a fire that burned down their apartment building. Hamid and Lukman are two poor Afghani boys who chanced upon meeting a powerful drug lord in 1975. By 1986, they were assimilated into American society in Brooklyn, New York. In G.O.D., the seemingly dystopian society that Saleem Little relays through this book is not a fantasy. It is the harsh reality of the crack epidemic that continues to shatter so many lives almost 30 years later in present-day America. G.O.D. gives an up-close view of the effects of the desolation that urban blight has on different groups of people from different walks of life. Instead of blaming poverty on the people trapped within the confines of their neighborhoods, G.O.D. shares the horrors of the inner city, its faces and its motives. G.O.D. specifically focuses on the year of 1986 because of the Reagan-era's Just Say No campaigns, which the book suggests were a cute facade to the tsunamis of destruction brought by the CIA and the CIA-backed armies in South America. Through the CIA, the American government used a Californian drug ring to systematically cripple Americans in ghettos nationwide, whereas the U.S. military and politicians hugely profited from cocaine under the guise of funding rebel armies in Central America to overthrow rogue governments. The Mujahideen brought in profits from heroin under the guise of shutting down opium drug lords and driving out the Soviet army. Back on American soil, America turned a blind eye on her own children. G.O.D. lays out how the global greed and the shady economic practices of the rich and powerful affect the impoverished. In the book, Hamid and Lukman try to balance the tables by getting American educations. Their goal is to help their people and their motherland by waging a war of wits. Brute force is traded for intelligence. Rage is traded for strategy. Drugs in the inner city are traded for money, which is used to fund their objectives. Saleem Little wrote G.O.D. in a way that was both informative and entertaining. He distilled vast amounts of information and global history into easy-to-understand paragraphs that articulated his points. In doing so, he puts the actions of his characters in proper contexts. He writes intellectual urban fiction that has its base in the inner city and its connections to global phenomena. Little illustrated the butterfly effects of billionaires controlling the puppet strings of governments that turn a blind eye to a profitable intercontinental drug trade. Communities sprinkled across the globe are targeted by both law enforcement agencies and criminal activities. The billionaires profit while the disadvantaged are negatively affected in numerous ways by a war on drugs. Although the ending of G.O.D. is tragic, there are many lessons that Saleem Little pulls into clear view. Little walks a thin line between fact and fiction with G.O.D. This novel was a well-constructed look at the ways drugs, greed, politics, and religion can possibly come together to profit a few at the expense of many.